Let's go.
Yes, sir.
You are here and now with Brandon and Joe. I'm Joe.
And I'm Brandon.
All right, we're at our
Check.
live. Is everybody? You hear me? Everybody?
Yeah.
Got you. Yep.
Good.
Cool, man.
All right.
All right. So let's get right into it, bro. Let's talk about like your come up. You know, your where were you born? First, I would start there.
Yeah, I was born here in St. Louis, well in Chesterfield, and then just pretty much lived here all my life, and even after college, I just came back here. Worked a few jobs, and then I was like, screw it, let's just start a food truck.
So that was after
yeah.
college.
Yeah, it was
when you-
right after college. Yeah, I was like 25 years old. and I
No
was-
shit.
Yeah, so.
What were you actually going for?
I really wasn't quite sure. You know,
trust me.
I was just like, I just felt like, going through the motions with school. I just never really connected with school too much. But yeah, with that, I just always connected with working, being around people a lot more. And then, I found my avenue through food. And through that, I know it was the right steps because got to meet, folks like you and just got to engage and connect with a lot of cool creative folks. And here we are today.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that. Like, I went to college just so I didn't get left behind, Like, I didn't know what the fuck I was going for or anything. So when you were like, coming up, did you have like passion for food, or was it like?
Yeah, I mean, my whole family were just, even if it's like we get geeked out about like even pizzas getting delivered to the crib, it's just
Oh,
like
same.
But yeah, I mean, just food's always been such a big part of my family and just my upbringing. And just growing up, man, always wanted to work with my hands too, and just I just feel like when you're in the restaurant industry, or if you're working not in a cubicle or behind a computer all the time, I feel like you just get deeper connections with people. So, yeah.
So were those some of your earlier jobs then? Was like in the kitchen?
Dude, I worked so many different jobs. Like I was a Starbucks barista.
No shit.
I like painted houses, just whatever I can do for a come up, So
Yeah.
Oh shit.
and then like park cars, valet, but it's all like people oriented, you know what I mean? So and it's always like working with your hands and just getting a lot of one-on-one time with folks too, which is always dope. So but yeah, I just worked a lot of different odd jobs, and then I managed a car wash too.
No shit.
Hell yeah.
little car wash, yeah. When I say managed, there was 3 people working there, so
Yeah, getting that
but
experience.
but yeah, just did that, and then I've always like I never went too long without working at a restaurant or something like that, and then Korean food just is, growing up in St. Louis, you just didn't see it a lot, and besides like, when my grandma cooked or my mom cooked, and the more I spent time away from, being around them, I just like craved it more and more and more, and then sort of looked into how to make it for myself and how to make that sustainable if I don't live in my parents' crib, So so yeah, that's where it started. So I really I was like, yo, grandma, teach me how to do this. And then it ended up being a lot more simple since I knew the flavors, like grew up with it all my life. And then, just sort of thought that was interesting, and it was cool. And then from there, I just had the light bulb moment of starting the idea of a food truck here in St. Louis. And really at that time, I didn't even know there was trucks out here, and I just thought it'd be dope for the city to have like a food truck scene. And like shortly after that, it sort of blown up, So
Now, was this your first entrepreneurial venture?
officially, yes. As a as like in high school and middle school and stuff like that, I'd be on eBay and shit, like
Yeah, doing that Gary
like
Vee
yeah,
shit.
oh yeah.
shoes or
I'd be
whatever.
like flipping stuff
Hell
before it
yeah.
was cool to flip stuff. But yeah, honestly, I would like look up who would be coming into town, whether it was like Metallica or Blink or whoever was coming into town. I'd just look, there's only 5 hotels in St. Louis where they could possibly stay at. So like, dude, this is like prehistoric because you just like Google like the the tour manager or whoever,
Mhm.
right? So say it was, Bob Smith. And then so you would like type in Bob Smith, or you would look up Bob Smith, because that would come up on a Google search or whatever, who manages, and then I'd call the Ritz, or I'd call, the Adams Mark Hotel, and then see where they're at, and then I'd post up, get their autograph, and then flip it on
No
eBay.
shit.
Oh, no
Dude,
shit.
see? That's definitely hustling, bro.
Yeah, so it was just hustling early, and then just that's at that age, I was just always I was skipping school. I was just doing whatever just to that stuff. The Russia doing that was always like above like trying to get good grades and stuff. But
Yeah.
which I was terrible at school, man. It was like, but I was always, when I was present there, I was good at it. But I just never interested me. So
Yeah.
Well, that's dope. You had that hustling mindset from a young age.
yeah. I mean, it probably it worried my parents a lot.
Mhm.
Or a lot of people are like, man, I don't know, but especially like in the Asian culture, like, dude, like your school is everything. You know what I mean? Like you gotta be on top of that, and they're always thinking like you're gonna land a traditional job. There's no like real path to that, but like to me, it just didn't feel natural. So I was just like all my homies are like
Yeah.
either in sports or skating or music, like just always like in arts, and the creative side of things always appealed to me more than anything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, like, your parents, I mean, they were definitely moving out of like a place of like love, but because
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah.
my parents were our parents were the same way. Like
Right,
they
right.
wanted us to get like a full-time, just safe job and all
Right,
that. They
right,
don't
right.
understand like the entrepreneurial stuff,
Right.
Because it is risky,
Yep.
it is really risky. So, and that's funny you were saying that because I've heard Steve-O, Steve-O.
Yeah.
I've heard him talk about doing that same exact thing.
Oh,
With
where
the
he-
autograph thing?
Yeah, no, he looked up. It was like Motley Crue or somebody. He
Oh,
met
shoot.
Motley Crue through looking up their band manager and
Yeah.
then finding their hotel, calling all these hotels.
Yeah.
Exactly like to a T.
That's crazy. So yeah, like think of like whoever was playing the Cardinals at the time or the Blues. Like you get some big acts coming into St. Louis, and they go for a good penny.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, it was just like that definitely always interests me. And I was like, dang, you can make some decent money doing this, And then like I didn't come from much. Like my parents like definitely couldn't just buy me any random car, so I had to work for whatever I got. So like, it was dope to see like back in the day, the stuff it was like PS2 was like,
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
when I could make that come up, by myself, I was like, yeah. But got that, and I was able to buy my own car, and then from there I would still work. Like I would, right after school, I wouldn't even stress about my homework. I'd be like, I'm gonna go deliver at my homie's Chinese restaurant. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, from there it's just always working. But I mean, I just at an early age, I'm blessed that that's like the grind that was instilled in my own mind. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
having that mindset.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So you're getting out of college and you're trying to figure out what to do. Like, so what inspired the food truck in particular? Like, were you like, damn, that's something I think I could do?
Right. Yeah. So Korean tacos and the food truck scene just sort of blew up like a year and a half before I opened. Like it was just like blowing up in LA by the Kogi truck. The dudes were no relation, but his name's Roy Choi. So Chef Roy Choi, and he started his own food truck called Kogi, and it was just like, shoot, there was just lines down the block, whatever it was, and I was just like, man, that's so dope. Like I wish St. Louis had something like that. And then really, like he sort of pioneered the whole like Twitter movement of food trucks being like, yo, I'm posted up here at this corner, and then it was almost fun for like just people just to be like, yo, let's go try this out instead of your traditional restaurant setting, So from there I was just like, man, that'd be so sick if St. Louis had that. So I looked into it and I was like, man, if I wipe out my account, if I sell my car, sell whatever I get, or whatever I had, I was like, I think this is doable. So I just like took that leap of faith, and I was like, let's just do it, So
Yeah, because that's a big, especially like to clear out your bank account, like all that. That's definitely like a huge risk.
right.
So you saw it popping through like over like Twitter, you said, right? Because
Yeah, yeah.
Instagram was there Instagram or
No,
any of that?
there was no IG. Yeah, it was just Facebook and Twitter. But yeah, I mean that was like his sort of business model, and I just thought that was like genius. And then yeah, I just saw like different articles on it and stuff like that. And then yeah, for me, I was just like knew how to cook, so I was just like, let me just make this for friends, family, whatever. And everyone's like, damn, it's fire. So from there, I was like, I think I do have something. And then from there, you know, I think success success always takes you to the folks that you're surrounded by. So
Mm.
I was like very fortunate to be around like hella supportive people. So like the homies were all supporting, like just people I haven't even talked to in years. They think it's so cool that you're starting something, and
Yeah.
and to me that's so amazing to see people rally around something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Because even people close to you, sometimes it's hard to get their support. You know.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think, man, it's so weird, man. It's either you get that support, right, or you get a whole bunch of hate. And I mean, I had that too early on. People were like, "Man, restaurant's so tough," or they'll be like, "Oh man, you're buying a roach coach, and what are you gonna do?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
so I mean, I had my good share of haters, and you know, and everyone's like, "Yeah, that motivate." It's just, to me, I just don't even worry about it. I still have
Yeah.
people that hate on what I do, and they think it's like I just like got lucky with a lot of stuff, which I probably did with some things, but like there's there's no way you can sustain this level of success without hustling and working your ass
Mhm.
off. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh,
So
facts.
like what they don't see behind the scenes is just like I'll outwork and outgrind folks on a different level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, um, but and that's not to be cocky or whatever. It's just like
It's the truth.
I just don't. There's no one who's successful that don't put in work. So, um, but going back to the hating part is like I just never let it really phase me. You know what I mean? Like if you know something deep down in your heart, if you have an idea or something that you really want to do, you got to just absolutely pursue it and just sort of block out that static and
Mhm.
that noise.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
otherwise, like, man, it's not their dreams that that you're pursuing. It's like that shit's in your heart, that's in your mind, and
Yeah.
that'll tear you up living their dream. It's going back to the parent
100%.
stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Yeah.
that even if it's coming out of love, there's a lot of the people like that were hating too are people that I'm still close with. Like I still love them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it's like you gotta learn how to not take that to heart
Yeah.
and just be like, yo, I appreciate you saying that, but I think I'm gonna do this thing,
Yeah.
So
Right.
Yeah.
and then when things um
Good. That's
Mhm.
good.
yeah, when things are like, going well, you see them sort of change their
Yeah.
tone with things, and they are genuinely happy. But then also, let's be real, there's haters out there to be
Yeah.
haters. So
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Most
Yeah.
yeah,
definitely. Most
so
Well,
definitely.
because like everybody's a reflection of who you are. So like you succeeding might make them feel bad about themselves, which has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them.
right, absolutely.
When you were so going back to like when you were a kid, were you like a quiet kid or were you more outgoing?
Yeah, I don't think I was ever quiet, but
Oh, okay.
but yeah, I mean a lot of the a lot of the seriousness of like business stuff like that. Yeah, like I think a lot of the folks I hang around with or grew up with, like they're probably surprised that I'm where I'm at, just because like I'm just a chill, easygoing dude. I'm
Yeah.
always a
Yeah.
goofball or whatever. But at the end of the day, like when I care about something, I'm gonna put 200% into it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's where um, that's always been something. Like if I'm passionate about something, I'll go hard in the paint with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, no
So
matter
what are some of the traits that you had to learn to actually become this successful?
Um, honestly, yeah, I learned it a lot. Like my father was a pastor, so I grew up in the church, and a lot like I took a lot of those
Interesting.
disciplines and like what he's built and what he did with the church. Like I just like, man, there's a lot of stuff you could take that and model. You know what I mean? And like um yeah, so I think like just growing up with that, you just gotta take your
Yeah.
circumstances, whatever you grew up, your upbringing, and take the positive out of any situation you're in. You know what I mean? And sort of build on that. And I saw a lot of good thing. Like a lot of people hate on the church and stuff like that. but it's just because they have negative experiences with it, they're
Mhm.
so focused on the negatives. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But let's be honest. There's not a vocation where there's like not bad apples anywhere. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So
Of
like
course.
if you're focused on the bad apples, that does a disservice to the folks that are doing good in that vocation. You get what
Oh
I'm
yeah.
saying? So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
100%.
so it's like yeah, not every church has a pedo,
Yeah.
like
No.
Yeah.
pastor or priest
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
There's just like these weird stigmas that just like stick with like different vocations. I think, yeah, for me, it's just like man, it's just you know just taking the good out of those things. And there's a lot of people doing good, and you know today now more than ever, like it's easy to cancel off or just
Mhm.
like um yeah, not validate those things, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, and I just think, that part to me is a little bit, discouraging, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, more than anything, yeah, I learned a lot, like a lot of leadership traits, a lot of
Yep.
like
That's what I was gonna
a
say.
lot of right things to do as well,
Mhm.
But honestly, yeah, it's just like, I really feel like that set me up for a lot of success to scale up and grow and stuff like that. So
Now, did you get into the Soul Taco with a partner or anybody?
yeah, so I did. One of my homies I grew up with, like I just reached out to him and I was just like, "Yo, can you help me out?" Or where I knew he hated his job, so I was just like, "All right, well, I'm doing this. I don't know if you want to do it on board, but yeah, to be honest, like there's like a certain level of expectation. I don't know if it was fair, to have that same expectation on him, but like you know, having partners in business is just tough. And that was one example where it was like mixing a homie
Mhm.
with a business, and it didn't work out just because I wasn't gonna see this thing fail regardless. You know what I mean? So if
Mhm.
I seen any sign of like this, like taking one step backwards, I'm like, yo, we're in this to win it. You know what I mean? It's like this is just a small little win. Like we're not gonna go like pop bottles. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
After one good service, you know what I mean? And it's just like not saying that was what, but it's just that overarching mindset of that. And I was just like, I don't know. I just think I was just like a sort of a freak in that mentality where I was just like,
Yeah.
yo, we gotta be successful
Yeah.
regardless. Like we
Well, you
got
gotta be. It's
like
like
yeah,
it's your
yeah,
baby
for
pretty much,
sure.
you
Like
know?
yeah, so it's like it probably wasn't fair because it was my baby and I was a majority owner of that, and I was just like, yo, let's go,
Yeah.
knowing that we worked like, maybe like 17 hours a day before. I'll be like, yo, in 4 hours we gotta wake up, we gotta prep, we gotta do this, we gotta do, what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was my mindset. If like you're not matching my energy, then I was like, yo, what you slacking on? Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but I've always like vocalized, and whoever's worked with me, I'm like, yo, we work our asses off so we can sort of sustain it. Like if we work really, really hard right now, then, like in a few years, like we can focus on growing other areas in the business. But you see people working hard and hard, hard, and they're doing the same thing. They're beating the same drum year after year after year, and then they get burnt out.
Mhm.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
if you don't work hard at that and then like build something upon it, so and have that real focus and like energy towards that, then like the sustainability is out the window.
Right,
So
right.
So when the food truck was like planted in your head, did you have it at that time? Like at that moment, you were all in by yourself at that point, or were you like, man, I need these, I need more people in my circle to, or was it all you 100%?
no, yeah, so it was like definitely me and my friend. Like he was with my partner was with me for like a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay,
And
so in the
then
very
yeah,
beginning,
yeah,
it was with a
yeah,
partner.
for sure. And then so that I mean, I'm not gonna not give credit where it's due. Like
Hmm.
he
Mhm.
definitely helped out in the beginning and like got us to where we needed to at that point. But then there's a certain point where you have to look at your business or whatever you do, and say, hey, if certain thing plateaus, it's just better off to. I had to make a business decision, be like, it's better off to like for me to really see this blow where I think I could blow this up to. Like I need to cut this off, and it's no hard feelings,
Hmm.
whatever it
Mhm.
is. And Like to me, I don't know. It's a great attribute as a business,
Yeah.
but it's also hard. Like a lot of people bring that emotional side to it, but for me, I just see it's your business, and it's not being an asshole. I'm just always trying to bring it to the table and bring it amicably as well. So I've had partnerships in other businesses and you know, and in Seoul Taco where I cut it off and we still
Yeah.
hang out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
That's
it's
awesome.
like yeah. So it's just like you know everyone has their own story, but like I really do come at it at a way where like, I want you to win. Like
Mm-hmm.
regardless, I want you to win. But at this time, like it's my job to be like look beyond like the emotional and just be like, yo, I think for us to keep continuing to win, like thank you for bringing us to where we're at. Like there's a certain gratitude I definitely have and the level of gratitude I have for that. But at the certain point, you have to assess like, can I continue to go up? And I wasn't ready to plateau, so I just you know, one of my closest homies, I had to say, I'm sorry. And then, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's certain like crossroads that, you know, during business or in life, you have to sort of just assess those things. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, it's all about self-awareness, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Like you knew 100% that you wanted to be in it and your partner needed to do that self like analysis to decide if he was 100%.
Dude, 1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
like
draining, right? Because
yeah.
you don't want to be resentful and be like, yo, homie, like you better pick up. Like you're always thinking about like, yo, you're not matching how I'm living this. And
Putting
that
in, yeah.
people do that too in like relationships and whatever
I,
it is too. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like that stuff gets tiring. You don't want to live
Yeah.
like that. You know what I mean? You want to have a clear conscience. You don't want to like stress about what someone else is doing. I have enough to stress about what I'm doing. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think like you know, for me, that's one of the moments in business where I look back, I was like, man, I knew I had to do that. And you always come to a crossroads. Sometimes it's a good choice. Sometimes it's you know you missed the mark, but you know you have to go with that
Yeah.
intuition. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So although the worst thing you can do is plateau, and
Yeah.
then the only way from there is back down. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, and like you won't know if that was the right decision until you make that decision. So it had to have been made, you know.
right,
Like
right,
you
right.
had to make that decision. It turns out it worked out,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, but
for
you never
sure.
would have known that if you didn't go through it, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. Yeah. So there's tough scenarios like that, but like if I were to give anyone advice, it's just like, yo, you just gotta go with your gut and your
Mhm.
intuition.
Yeah.
You know, the reason why you're thinking these things is probably because it is true, you know.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean that that to me is sort of crazy that you know, I knew that at an infant stage of my entrepreneurship, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
to sort of, you know, go with that. And yeah, but I still um sort of act on that, you know, like if I have a feeling or intuition of doing something or acting on something, I'll just do it. So
Yeah.
mhm.
Let's get a timeline going. So what year did Soul Taco start?
We started in 2011, so obviously we had our 10-year block party
Yeah, yeah.
this
That's right.
year.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So we started in the summer of 2011, and yeah, man, it was on the tail end of like the housing crash and all that. So it was
Hmm.
just like there wasn't like a lot of jobs available besides like you know your well I picked up like industry jobs and stuff like that, and that's when I was working like whatever job I can get. I was like
Mm.
painting houses and all that stuff, like all at the same time, you know, parking cars, whatever I could do just to make ends meet. But yeah, like I would even ask like my homie, his dad like managed like this box company. They make all the boxes for Anheuser Busch, right?
Mm.
So like
Mm, mm.
all the cardboard boxes. So it's like this like 200-degree machine that you're just
Mhm.
like cranking out all these paper cardboard boxes. But I'll just be like, yo, does he need any like labor, any help, you know, for that? And so I would just ask anyone for, you know, if they had any work because I just always wanted to work. Like, but I've had like I'd had my share of fun like before all that. So I was just like, there's a point where you're like, all right, going out, all that, just like what am I doing?
Yeah,
You know what I
Yep.
mean? You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've
Like,
discussed this a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just like, bro, it's like it's fun, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like, all right, how much that part is not sustainable. So I was
Yeah.
just like, bro, I just rather work. Like,
Yeah, and it's like
you know what I
it's
mean?
like, what are
So,
we celebrating?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't do anything. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right. Yeah. So I mean, if you get caught up in that, you know, I mean, everyone goes through like certain seasons of their life where you
Mhm.
just gotta let out some steam and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But you know, for me, I'm glad it wasn't sustained too long. You know what I mean? And then yeah, from there, I was just like, it actually helped me realize I was like, yo, I actually enjoy working. I'd rather do this,
Yeah.
make a hustle, do something with my, you know, time, you know, that's productive instead of just burning it.
Yep.
It's almost like the relationship aspect, right? It just gets exhausting when you're
Yeah.
living paycheck to paycheck. And you're just like, geez, you know, I just spent like half my paycheck on just one weekend. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Just
Yeah.
so I was just like, geez, man, like it ain't no show festival or whatever that's worth that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was just like,
Yeah.
you know, from there, so that's where I made a plan. I was just, I'm gonna save up. I'm gonna actually drive a car that doesn't break down in like 6 months or whatever, you know.
Right,
So
right.
after that, I was just, you know, sort of focused and locked in. I didn't know at the time how or what the end goal was, you know, or even starting my business, but that honestly is surrounding yourselves about or around people that have that same mentality, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like at that time I had a homie had his own photography business and
Mm.
like he was picking up like larger clients like Motorola, this and that. And I was just like, bro, let me pick your brain. Like, how do you even start it? Like, how do you even incorporate it as a business? What's the steps? So I just started picking this. I was like, dang. So that's when around then I was just like, all right, I need to look into this food truck thing for real. And I, you know, just asking folks that have opened their own stuff and took their leap of faith and did their own things. Like I don't know anyone who has opened that wouldn't be an open book about how to do it because it's just, you know, everyone has to ask somebody. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
But yeah, and then that goes to me like just even thinking about that process, like if I didn't have these friends, I wouldn't be able to open or know where even to start, you
Mhm.
know, and then like going back, like my parents and like their generation, them coming from Korea without knowing the lay of the land, without knowing the
Mm.
language,
Yeah.
you know,
So you,
my uncle started his own business. I was like,
yeah,
bro, that's
that's
like
insane.
major props. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
to me, that like, you know, that gives me chills. You know what
Oh
I mean?
yeah.
So it's like for them to come here and make something of themselves like that, just to pave a way for me to really suck at school and find what I do on the creative side is just like a major, you know, major thank you to that generation, you know, for all the hustle and work. And so I never really go back and be like, yeah, they were hard on me or whatever. Luckily, my parents honestly were always chill. Like
Mm.
they always knew like I needed to be out or whatever, like skate, do sports, whatever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
like I was very lucky in a rare case of having sort of chill Asian parents like that. But other than that, yeah, I just constantly look back at my uh like my uncle and you know my parents' generation who started that. It's sort of crazy to think that you know they didn't even know anything and they didn't
That's
have homies
insane.
that hit up. You
Yeah.
know,
That's crazy.
you know.
Yeah.
So, but that's why you do see a lot of like you know at that time like Koreans like there was a lot of Korean dry cleaning owners because they're like, oh, this is what I did, this is how I
Mhm.
started. You know, they didn't know how to be like, yo, you know, you would take like someone who might have been a lawyer in Korea and they come here and they're just like, I just want a better life or opportunity and I just want to open something. They're
Yeah.
like, well, I did this dry cleaning, you could do this, you know, in a different neighborhood or whatever. This is the steps to do it. Like it was just like they knew that there was like a model and then they followed that, you know, footprint. So you would see a lot that's where you see a lot of the immigrants have the same type of business, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's you know, it's easy to just like dismiss it and be like, yo, why do they all do this and sort
Yeah.
of joke about it, but it's like, you know, which sometimes it's funny, but you know what I mean? But
Well, it makes
and,
sense.
you know,
Like
yeah,
you
but
don't
it's
know
like, yeah,
what you don't know until you know it, you know.
absolutely,
And then
yeah,
like
yeah,
if somebody tells you that this is the way, and then that's all you know, well, of course that's what you're gonna do.
right, right,
And there,
right.
and then when you think about that like generation, you think about like no Instagram, no YouTube, no Google, like all that shit, dude. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
mind blowing that
it
they were
is,
able to
yeah,
make something of it, you know.
exactly. But yeah, sort of the timeline, man, just started that food truck and then just sort of just took off, man. And then after that, we ran out of room to like prep and stuff like that. So I was just prepping all the stuff for the food truck at my homie's restaurant, and like you know, saw them noticeably being stressed because we were prepping more and more and more, which is a
Mm.
good problem. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and I was just like, all right, maybe we should look into our own space. And then when I found that space, I was like, yo, instead of just food truck, let's just sell out of it. And that was the one in the Loop, right by Blueberry Hill over there. So, but yeah, and then a year and a half after that, moved to that larger spot on Del Mar. So we moved off the side street onto Del Mar, and then at that same time, my brothers they live in Columbia, Missouri, and they're like, you should open one in Mizzou. I was like, all right, well, let's do that. And so we.
Oh, so you got one out there too?
Yeah, we had.
Nice.
That was actually our second.
So it was Del Mar, then Columbia.
Columbia, yeah.
No
I was just like,
No shit.
instead of having a second one, in St. Louis, I was just like, let's just go out there and. Yeah, I'm out there a lot anyways because my family all lives out there. They just after Mizzou, they just like, or after college, they just stayed in Columbia, and they all went to Mizzou and stuff like that. But yeah, and now my parents they moved down there too. So, but yeah, after that, just where do we go after that? I think shortly after that, I went to Chicago. Yeah. Chicago and started expanding.
Now,
there.
was that a whole different ball game? Because did you have connects out there?
I did. My homie that was a photographer, he was in Chicago. So the dude who sort of inspired me to open my own business and doing that, like he was a pretty big part of my life in that regard. And yeah, so he's always connecting folks. Like this dude's a beast when it's like he's such a nice dude and everyone just loves this dude, and like he just knows anyone. He's like, any vocation, any industry, he knows somebody. And I think that's another amazing thing about the creative industry, whether you're, and then same with the restaurant. You just see all walks of life and you get to meet everybody, So yeah, so he just connected me with some folks up there, and then someone told me about this like restaurant vacancy out there, and then I just like, yo, this is perfect setup, So I used to live right around this area, so those sirens were real.
I was like, should I let it distract me or not? I was like, well, it's already distracting.
Yeah, I was like, when it's right outside the windows, let's just chime in on that. But yeah, so yeah, he just connected me with someone there. There was a restaurant vacancy, and it used to be this old like fast Mexican concept, and I was like, dude, this is like every single piece is what Seoul Taco uses anyway in that place. And then and my friend, he builds and designs restaurants that so like he's like, yo, I built this, like this would be perfect, and he's the one who did my design at the Del Mar store, so that's
that's a solid
design
too.
Yeah, exactly. So he's just super creative. Like
he painted everything, or
no, so that's just local artists. He's the one.
Okay.
He's the crazy one who's like, yo, let's just get a truck and cut it up and put it on the walls. Like what, like an actual truck? He's like, yeah. So we just like,
damn,
went to the junkyard, found a box truck, and he painted that. But yeah, so he does a lot of woodworking and stuff like that, builds booths. He does a lot of bars and restaurants in Chicago. So he's like, yeah, I built this restaurant. Like, he's like, yeah, they're for sale. Like, they're selling everything. Like, I was like, man, I don't know if I had that loot right now to do that. But yeah, I mean, this is amazing. This is a perfect spot. And then it ended up being, I talked to the previous owner, and he's just like, yo, we just need to liquidate everything. What do you got? Just give me an offer. So I just gave him an offer. That's sort of similar with what happened to the food truck. I was just honestly told him what I had, like within my means. I was like, this is it. Like, I'm not trying to disrespect or whatever, So I was like, this is what I have, let me take the space. And then, after a week or so, he's just like, all right, let's do it. So I was just like, what,
Well, a lot of people get caught up in that too. Like I don't have the money to start, so I'm not going to start. When you started, did you only start with what you had in your pocket, or did you take out and you don't have to answer this or whatever, but did you take out a loan or anything? Or?
No, so from there it was me, my business partner, and then I just went to my brother. I was just like, yo, you want to invest? Like he was watching football. I remember he was just watching football on TV. He's like, how much you need, man? I was like, wasn't that much. It was like $5,000 or whatever. I was just like, I just need $5,000. So that's like his $5,000 turned into crazy, but
That's a good,
it's like-
good investment for him.
yeah, I was
You
like
know?
watching football, saying how much he needs. So yeah, so like yeah, that ended up working out for him, and then yeah, like it just didn't take that much. That was the appeal of starting a food truck. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was like low cost, but even when I got the food truck, that like I was like, yo, I only have 18,000. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like that to me, I cleared up my, all my accounts and everything. I was just like, to the dude selling the truck, he was selling it for 40, and I was like, I only have, I only have 18. Like,
That's a
I'm
hell of
not,
a
yeah.
shit.
But I was like, this is like I would love to have this truck. If you ever change your mind, let me know. Like, here's my number, whatever. Within 2 hours, the dude calls me back. He's like, all right,
No
I'll sell
shit.
you the truck. Yeah.
Damn.
Man, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, I think from there it's just like, man, that's where I'm like, yeah, sometimes you do have to hit some luck, or maybe someone's looking out. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? But yeah, with the Chicago store too, it was just like I was sort of the same thing. Like I'm always realistic. I'll never like I need to have this by, if it's out of my means, I'm gonna stretch it out or whatever. It's just never been in my mindset to do that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
So I know you said your homie kind of like designed your shops. So like, did you envision it like that in the first place?
yeah, so like the good thing about him, he just sort of sits down with you, and he's just like he knows what you're about. So he just sort of like, yo, let's what do you think about this idea? What do you do? Like he bounces different ideas based on like what he knows about you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, I just think he's just like it takes someone extra creative to do
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Instead of being like, yo, this is what I got.
Yeah.
Like say I have this, I don't know, whatever. I have this box right here.
Yeah.
This is the only. Do you want it or not? It's him.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, do you want to make this box into a circle?
Yeah.
Like I know you're
Yeah.
a circle dude. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so like yeah, so like he'll just think out of the box with you and just
Well,
go
dude, that's
with it.
good
So,
that you like. Yeah, it's good to like outsource that. Plus, you're helping out a homie too.
Yeah, for
But it's
sure.
also like
Yeah.
one less thing you got to think of. Yeah, just do your own thing, man. I trust you. You know.
Yeah, and it's all through my other homie who was a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
He took photos of some of his furniture and some of his artworks that he was doing. And then by happenstance, he's like, "Yo, you need to connect with my homie. That's, his food truck just blew up, and he's looking to build a restaurant or whatever." And it was like perfect timing. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a lot of like perfect storms like that where you're like, "Wow, this is crazy." You know what I mean? Where there's like you meet the right people at the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because anytime I go to the Delmar location, I get like this Wu-Tang vibe. I don't know if you were like intentionally going for that, or I might be the only one thinking that. But
no, it definitely is. So like, yeah, yeah, that's just the music I grew up with.
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
It's
so-
definitely a hip hop like
Yeah,
vibe when you go there with the
yeah.
speakers and all that, like
Right,
the boom boxes and stuff.
which is kind of like a part of your brand now. It's
yeah,
just like
it is. Yeah, at first it was just like I was just like, man, there's there's just people playing like when you let the employees just touch your radio, you're just like, oh my God,
Yeah,
oh my God,
yeah.
I can't. But I know they're thinking about that about the hip hop I play right now. Like, but it's just like sometimes it's just I'm like, all right, so right now I have like approved list that I'm like, this is
No
is it.
shit.
Like, yeah,
This is all you could play in
yeah,
here.
because that no one wants to hear country and then
Yeah.
alternative,
Right,
and then
right.
and then rock, and then hip hop. Like it's all over the board, So I was
Mhm.
just like, let's just tighten this up, and then, but that's something where it's just like, as a business owner and entrepreneur, you just gotta set those boundaries. You just gotta be like, this
Yeah.
is it. Man. Like
Yeah. And
otherwise, it goes wild. It's a free for all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, man.
And you got to, and it goes back to that trusting your own gut too.
Yeah.
Because like what you created with Seoul Taco is like an external version of your internal self.
1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah.
'cause
And
I
without,
could see it,
but I
too.
didn't really realize that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was just like, yo, this is, it takes major OCD too to like own a
Yeah.
restaurant, because you're like every single thing you're like, all right, let's clip those leaves right there. Let's,
Yeah.
whatever
Dude,
it is.
I could only imagine, man. Especially now that you're opening up more and more shops. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a lot more to maintain. Like, how often are you in these shops, like spot checking them, making sure?
Dude,
they're
yeah.
all
I mean,
good?
I would drive myself nuts if I was in
Yeah.
there all the time. So like, I just try to make my rounds here and there, and there's some stores I'm going for like months just because I'm like, all right, it's good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, but yeah, I mean, I have a staff that just I have a staff that goes into every store, manages managers, and from there it's just like it's a good collective team, and like it to me it's like what we've built and just the organization around it. I just think it's man, it just took a lot of time. It took 10 years for us to be like, yo, like even now I'm still trying to figure stuff out, you know what I mean? And like I'm at a good spot. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's cool to see like people buy into what your vision and your culture is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even at a point where like 5 years ago I was like, I don't even know what what the culture is in my place, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
Right.
because there's so many different dynamics and you're growing and growing, but now it's just like, all right, now that we've been 5 years in Chicago, we've been 10 years here in St. Louis, like that's a solid footprint, and you built that culture, and yeah, to have that cohesiveness across different markets is sort of insane. So
Yeah.
from there, like yeah, like we built this like synergy with the whole staff, and like man, it's like beautiful to see, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it took a long time, had a even if I were to do that again, it's just sort of hard to see what your real DNA is until you see it out of the folks that you've worked with side by side for years, you know what I mean? You're like,
Yeah.
whoa, you're I don't even have to it's like some Yoda shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, you're thinking what I'm thinking, you know what I mean? So like that's when you're doing some things right, where it's like folks know how to just like navigate through and sort of act upon what you would already do for yourself
Yeah.
into the business. So
Yeah, with Seoul Taco, so it's definitely like the most unique burrito I've ever had in my life. Like I've never tasted a
So
burrito that
fire.
was like it. Yeah. And like I always hype it up to my friend. Like people used to ask me if I was sponsored by you guys because I used to talk about it so much. Like I wish, man, but no. But so it started from your family recipe. Did you guys always make burritos and stuff, or was it
nah,
like
man.
okay?
So I mean, the food truck in LA was the inspiration behind the Korean Mexican, and the thing about in LA, like Koreatown, there's like the largest population of Koreans in the states are in LA.
Mm.
Same with Mexican. So it's just like there was a natural fusion that happened over there, and like they have great Korean food, great Mexican food out there. You know what I mean? So like you go anywhere, you get both of those cuisines, you know what I mean? So like but yeah, like for me, like here it was just working, working different restaurants and stuff like that. And then like growing up, going to college at first, I was like, I need to learn from my grandma and my mom. So I learned how to sort of do some Korean barbecue at a very like elementary stage, you know what I mean? So like just it started off very small, and then like the more time and more I put my mind to it, like the better it got. And then, I was very comfortable with that. So yeah, by the time I wanted to start the food truck, I was like, yo, I know these flavors, I know how to do it, I know how to execute it,
Yeah.
So but yeah, I mean from there it's just that's the Korean side of things. And then the burrito, I was just like messing around like with the ingredients I had in the truck. Like we're like deadly slow. I think it was like a cold day, and we had like a whole bunch of rice left over, and I was just like, yo, let me just mess around with this for a second. So at first, like my menu, I just wanted to always have a business model where, if it's not simple, if it's like over complicating things, I don't want it on my menu. You know what I mean? And it was just like probably about out of habit of me going to like fast food, right? Like Taco Bell and McDonald's.
Oh,
And
yeah.
all that stuff, So
Yeah.
it's like I'm like, man, it's sort of, you use a lot of the same ingredients and the same things, but make different menu items. And you know, I can firmly say our quality is a lot better than theirs, but
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean.
Most
But
definitely.
but it's just like you take the examples that are around, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. So like I'm like, man, that's a good model, So I was just like, for me though, I dumbed it down even more, like made it super simple, where I was like, I'm gonna open this truck with just tacos and quesadillas. That's all I sold for like the first 6 months, and then like later on that year, I would create the gogi bowl, which is a bibimbap. Bibimbap is just like a mixed rice bowl, that you just mix up the meat and the gochujang, which is a spicy paste, and you mix it all together. And yeah, so I just introduced that, but we were deadly slow that day, and we had a shit ton of rice left, and I was just like, damn, I don't know what to do with all this. I was like, all right, well, we had 2 people just sitting down, you know what I mean? Because there's absolutely no one there. I think it was the weather or it was like a dead event, you know. And then like I just made this fried rice, and then with just the ingredients I had, and then from there I didn't even have like real kimchi, so I couldn't make like real kimchi fried rice. So I had like our slaw, which is like a sweeter kimchi that you would have at like bars with like Korean barbecue or like Korean fried chicken and stuff like that,
Okay.
right? So it has like it's a sweeter daikon radish, and I put that little slaw, and we'd like julienne that, and I put that slaw into the rice, and I was like, holy shit, this sort of tastes fire, you know? It's not like I knew it wasn't like traditional like kimchi, but you know, from there, I put that in there, and then I was like, all right, well, I don't have a burrito show. I was like, but I have this quesadilla show, which is just a smaller burrito show, you know what I mean? So I was just like, all right, I'm gonna put the rice in there, and then put our meat, and then I have everything like the cheese, all that, and I was like, all right. And then I took a bite of it. I was like, damn, I think we got something here, you know? And then I was like, y'all try this. They're like, dang, this is amazing. And then yeah, and then there's a few trucks around. All of us were slow. We're all like, man, this is a dead event, whatever, you know. And then one of the chefs from the other truck, one of the truck owners came. He's like, man, this might have been the best thing I've eaten all year. Like,
Damn.
yeah. And then this is one of the chefs that's been around, you know, and he's been in some the higher end restaurants. So I was like, damn, I think we got something here. You know what I mean? Like that's some high praise. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So later on, just tweaked it, made it a little bigger, and then yeah, it just was a staple ever since. You know, so yeah, anything on our menu, it's just sometimes we just experiment with it, you know what I mean? And then it sort of sticks and lands. So
I was about to say, do you kind of always like have this creative, like new creative ideas to do? Like I know you just dropped
Yeah.
the Crunch Wrap Supreme
Munch
type
Wrap.
of thing.
Yeah, so that like it goes when we're like, you know, so that's when we just hired Chef Brian Fisher. Like he comes from a Michelin star restaurant, and he's ran his own kitchen, and on a high level, like one of the top restaurants in Chicago. And then yeah, so it's like he came down to Columbia, where my brother's company during COVID, they couldn't have their traditional like parties or whatever, so they're like, man, but they have a certain amount of fund budget to allocate towards like team building like parties and stuff like that. But traditionally they go out, you know, and I don't know what they do, but you know, they're like, maybe this year we can get someone to cook dinner for us in like outdoor setting. So they rented this place out, and they just had us do like a tasting dinner for them. So yeah, I asked Chef Brian if he'd be down to do it. This is before he worked with me, and then yeah, so he went down there and just did a phenomenal like full tasting menu dinner for these folks out in Columbia, which you know you don't have anything like that, you know, in Columbia, you know. So everyone's just like really appreciative, and this was a two nights seating, so it was like, I don't know, 30 people each night, which is pretty cool that they bring us down to do that. And then you know, after the second night, we're just like, man, what's there to eat out here? There's nothing open after, sir. And then by then you don't want to eat what you're cooking, you know what I mean? So like we had like A5 Wagyu, we had like top notch ingredients, you know, we had like foie and all that right there, like for these employees. But we're like, we don't want to eat all that, you know, like that's too rich. So it's like we look up, I think we just Googled it, and like Taco Bell was
Yeah,
up there.
sounds good. That's funny. You got all this like high quality food right here.
Dude,
Like,
we
fucking
Just brought in a bunch of tacos.
So I think I've mentioned Taco Bell like too many times on this podcast already. But yeah, like so yeah, so we're just like, all right. I think it was like the last week where they had the Mexican pizza, because you know they took that off, which is big mistake, you know.
Right.
Yeah, so like we just like went to the drive-through, ordered like $80 worth of Taco Bell, you know, because we had like 5 people or whatever, you know. But we're just
Damn.
like, yeah, all right, we're just gonna go 15 minutes. 15 minutes in a small town is a seems like it's forever, you know.
Yeah.
And then so we went to the drive-thru, ordered $80 worth of Taco Bell, and the lady on the intercom's like, I think you just broke the record.
That's a lot
they're
of
so
food, bro.
yeah,
That's a
they were
lot.
so astonished that we ordered that much Taco Bell.
hilarious.
So we brought it back to the house, where we cooked the dinner. It was a beautiful house, like yeah, and then we beautiful house, beautiful kitchen, and then like we're just like, damn, we have this Taco Bell, we have extra truffle. So we're just shaving truffle over like
No shit.
Taco Bell and stuff. But yeah, from there we were just always joking. We always reminisce about the munch wraps or the crunch wraps. We call them munch wraps, so we
Yeah.
don't get whatever. But yeah, yeah. So like we shaved truffle over those crunch wraps. We're like, remember that time or whatever. And then like, during this year when his restaurant just didn't relaunch because like fine dining was sort of dead. Like during COVID, no one was able to dine inside and stuff like that. So yeah, so just to help Chef out, I was just like, yo, let's do a collab, and all the proceeds can go to you, just because I know right now you need to get something in your pocket. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
during times like this, you just, if you have the means to help someone out, you got to do it, especially the folks that are closest to you. And then yeah, so that's how that idea came about. We're just like, let's just do our own crunch wrap, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then let's do our own version with that. And yeah, shortly after that, it launched, and then just went nuts in Chicago. That's why it was a Chicago only thing. So that you guys got the whole background of that, the inside of that, and then yeah, it just blew up, and then like low key, everyone like in St. Louis was pissed off. They're like,
I was just telling you about
they're like,
that.
what the hell?
Well, that's
So,
smart.
yeah.
Like, that's creating demand.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like,
I mean, we didn't even do
pop
it.
it-
I was
I
just
know,
trying to help
just-
Chef out. And then it ended up being like, yo, you're turning your back on St. Louis.
What you doing?
Yeah, and then so we launched that. It went sort of ham, and then yeah, and then we're like, all right, well, let's just bring it down to St. Louis. And shortly after that, I was like, yo, Chef, if you need a job, like, I know this ain't fine dining or anything. Like, I would love to have someone of your pedigree where I don't have the time anymore to go into kitchens and just be like, yo, let's create this or whatever. Like, it'd be so dope if you could create stuff like this on the reg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
fortunately enough, like he's on board, and yeah, he's actually been so dope to have around, and such an awesome addition to our team. And yeah, I think from here it's just like, man, what else can we create? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
but yeah, just to do that, and then yeah, just having them on staff has been amazing. And then yeah, we'll see what else comes out of that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I just think like this whole year doing that, and then yeah, throwing that block party with all the music and just the energy that was there that weekend or that night was
Dude,
let's
that
talk
was-
about that.
that was
Yeah.
amazing, dude.
That
Yeah.
was super sick. Yeah, that was big for the city, man. That
yeah,
was,
yeah.
I mean, huge for you.
Yeah,
That
it was like the
yeah.
first
Insane.
event that was kind of like open
Post-COVID,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just, I think everyone was sort of like, I just honestly didn't know what to expect. I always wanted to do a sort of a block party, and that was inspired. Have you seen like the Dave Chappelle block party? You know, what I mean, have you seen like his block party? It's called Dave Chappelle block party.
Is it
Oh,
him
no.
performing outside?
Yeah, I mean, it was, so he just like out of nowhere, it was just like, he's like, I'm gonna start this block or do this block party just like on the whim.
Yeah.
Then yeah, he has like Mos Def come out. He has, he just has
Oh,
like
shit.
all these different artists
didn't
come
know
out.
that.
Yeah, I think Kanye was there. Like, this was Kanye when Kanye was Kanye. You know, so-
Yeah.
And then yeah, I'm pretty sure he just did that on whim in New York, and he just started this block party, and a lot of hip hop heads were there and got to perform. I think Jill Scott was there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and the Roots. So it was just like crazy energy just to see that, and it was documented, And then yeah, so sort of want to inspire a block party off that, but with local talent and just sort of low key throw a block party. You know what I mean? I didn't think it would be like that many heads there,
Oh,
that
dude,
day.
it was super popping.
But yeah, it made sense because everyone was cooped up.
Yeah.
It was sort of.
Oh,
first,
we were
like, big
all
thing
so
to-
ready for it. Like,
Yeah.
and it was free. Like, you gave
Yeah.
back to the city with that one, big time.
Yeah,
big time.
absolutely. And then like going back to the Wu-Tang thing was like, I mean, Wu-Tang's what I grew up with, and then like we had Ghost locked down, and then so Ghostface was supposed to headline the show.
Oh,
And then he was he had some issues internally with his staff with travel, so I was just like, you know what, from there I was like, oh, this is such a bummer. This happened like 4 days before the block party. So I was just like, what the hell are we gonna do? Either way, it would have been a dope day with him headlining or not. But then just I didn't sleep for like 30 hours. I was just working, just like trying to get another act. And then it came up that Busta was in Cincinnati, so it's just like, yo, let's try to get Busta in town, and threw a feeler out there. So moral of the story is, if you just gotta sort of just
shoot your shot.
throw an offer out there, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Shoot your shot.
Was this all through the DM, or did you contact like?
Oh no, I was speaking with his management and stuff like that, and from there, they're like, we have a tour bus already. It's already rented for our next stop, and St. Louis isn't that far away. So once we hashed out the rider and all the accommodations, I was just like, all right, it was definitely feasible. So I was just like, all right, let's do this. Then it was a whole 30 hours no sleep. I was just stressing. I was like, man, stressing. I was like, man, this is crazy leading up to it. And then and then got a call. He's like, we're down. Like, I'm down. And then hashing out all the final details. I knew we had it locked. And then from there, it was just a lot of time, a lot of paperwork. But then after that, got him down, man. It's sort of crazy deal.
How was that feeling before you, like when you're planning it and it's just a few days before it, not knowing like who's going to show up, or is there like kind of like a nerve-wracking feeling of maybe it's going to fail, or like did any of those thoughts cross your mind?
Well,
not necessarily fail, but like what if nobody shows up type of thoughts?
Yeah, I just felt confident enough in our like promotion part of it, and the folks that the good thing about like what I've done in the past 10 years is just always been collaborative with folks, not just in the restaurant industry, just people across industries. And I think from there was able to get the word out pretty widely, so I think from there, like a lot of people, I knew that there was going to be a buzz around it. Even when Ghost was there was going to be a buzz, just because people were wanting to do something at that point. And it just made sense to throw it outside in lieu of what's going on as well. But obviously that Dave Chappelle like inspiration was there as well in that model. And then really wanted to sort of give back, like he gave back to his community, like he gave back to he's originally from Cleveland, but he gave back to New York and that scene with absolute hip hop legends, and I just wanted to do something on a smaller scale with that. But that was definitely the inspiration for that. And just this is a city that made me, and this is a city that I will always give back to. So so that's something where it was just a no brainer to do. So,
that was super sick, dude. Especially to do it for free though, like a concert, like that. Who does that?
Also what you
That's
did
super
for
sick.
the local talent, man.
Yeah,
Like
putting
May Lee
people
and
on.
Mastermind and Loop Rat, like you gave them a big platform. And I know they do kind of big shows like that already, but you really put them in front of people.
Yeah, and the cool thing is just like they're the homies on the regular. You know what I mean? And I think like just putting on for your friends is as you get to do that and be able to create platforms for that as you grow in your business. I think that's just the most rewarding thing to do. And it's like, so that's what makes it more fun to be in whatever you're in, you know what I mean? So I think doing that is just just part of what we are as a business, part of what I do as business. So
now how did I believe it's called the Secret Wall.
Yeah, Secret Walls. Yeah,
Because
so
they did that there. It was like the competition, like Chicago versus St. Louis type thing, wasn't it?
yeah, so the first one, I was able to help bring Secret Walls here for the first time. They're they're known in the street art community worldwide, and I think yeah, in Chicago, I got to meet with the one of the founders of Secret Walls, and he was just like, we just hit it off right off the bat, and then helped him out with some of the events up there, and then got to connect with a lot of street artists throughout my time with Seoul Taco, and then that's why in Seoul Taco you'll just see crazy street art,
Mhm.
just in any store you're at, and yeah, I just always wanted to bring one back to St. Louis. So first one we threw at Four Hands at the brewery, and that was an amazing turnout. And then yeah, this block party, I was like, it has to be at this block party. So got them down to do that, and then Chicago beat St. Louis the first time, so I was like, let's just run it back one more time. But this time we had like heavy hitters from KC, so I was just like, let's make it like a Missouri versus Chicago thing,
Yeah.
And then yeah, so like we had Scribe, he's like a legend, street art legend out there, and he came out and he helped assemble some of the staff from KC, and so yeah, honestly, they both really killed it, and I just thought that was dope. And then the weather that day, like I don't know if you
Oh, yeah,
remember, it was
yeah,
like
yeah.
storming.
Yep.
So like initially they were supposed to get their own set, like 90-minute art battle, but from there you just got to think off and improvise, and like or like, all right, let's just run that in the middle of Mastermind set,
Yeah.
Miley set. So like it ended up working out, and it was like they're just doing their thing with the art
Yeah.
while they're performing, and it's just like just visually it was just sort of amazing
Yeah.
while these artists were
it's-
performing musically, and these artists were spraying on the walls.
Yeah, it's
So,
funny how things work out like that, because that's like the perfect time to do it.
Oh, yeah,
Instead of
yeah.
like everybody just sitting there watching them do their thing, like to have it collaboratory, like have it like happening collectively. You know what I mean?
yeah. So I thought it was, man, that night was just perfect. It was just like I was looking at the radar, Doppler radar, and just like the whole storm cloud just went straight south, right?
Yeah.
Right at 170, it just went south. So it never hit the Grove at all. Like,
Yeah.
and just to see that, it was just like, I was like, man,
Yeah.
this is crazy.
Yeah, and it
So-
was kind of sick. Like during Busta
Yeah.
Rhymes' set, there was like lightning in the air.
Yeah.
and
Oh,
shit.
yeah,
It was like
yeah.
perfect. I was like, damn, they went all out on their pyrotechnics, bro. Like, this dude's doing it big. They're putting lightning out there.
honestly.
had to make some calls, get some lightning out
Yo,
there.
God, yo, help me out, brother.
Cue the lightning. Cue the lightning.
That's so funny,
that's
though.
sick.
But yeah, it was a great response. Everyone seemed like they enjoyed it, and yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to sort of give back, to the city that sort of supported us off the cup, So like, yeah, it's just a no brainer to do that as well. So it's
Yeah.
10 years in business,
Yeah.
it's a proud moment to say that, but it's also proud to say I'm from St. Louis, and they had our back for 10 years to support us for 10 years to build up.
Yeah.
And there's folks that sort of build up fast and like they just build, but like for us, it truly is because like there's demand from the customers, and that spawned us to open different stores in different neighborhoods. So
Yeah. That's super sick.
yep.
Yeah, man.
I have like a kind of like a technical question, like, so, and you can answer it. Maybe you don't know the answer to this, or I'm sure you do, but so like, how does the system work? Like if somebody buys a burrito, does it automatically deduct it out of the inventory? And then like, how does that, do you know how that works?
Oh no, I mean we take. So it's not like we pre-make burritos and it's
Yeah.
like like a SKU from like,
Yeah.
I don't know, you get a Gatorade, right? And there's like this barcode, and you're like, oh, now we have 99 Gatorades instead of 100. Instead of that, it's just like, you try to make, as much stuff fresh as possible, and then, yeah, you just sort of like, you sort of know your threshold per every shift or every like rush, what I mean? And you just try to eye it out, but
Yeah.
you get as close to that as possible, but it's impossible to get that to a T. But
Yeah. So you're always
so-
just going in and like
Yeah, it's
monitoring. Oh, we need more beef. We need more chicken. We need more
right, and to minimize waste as much as possible, and then it's just you sort of cook up what you think that will go out. You know what I mean?
So do you put like pen to paper of like profit and losses type of stuff, or
Oh, for
like
sure. Yeah. I mean, we sort of narrow it down where we try to get it to minimize that loss as much as possible, or you know what I mean, or to be as efficient as possible.
yeah.
So like that's where we're always on numerics. We're always on analytics, like
Mm.
with that. So I have someone on staff just to look at those numbers. So
Mm.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I've always wondered like the technical part of it, like through
right,
doing that, you know.
for sure. But yeah, I mean that to me is like the boring part of business,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
like, I mean, to me it's interesting. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
well, it's like you
yeah,
gotta know that stuff to keep everything afloat. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
like you
yeah.
can't be running out of beef, and then somebody orders a beef burrito, and then
Right, right,
like you're
right.
like, oh shit, we don't have any beef.
Like
Well,
the
it's-
more and more I think about it, is like the more I'm doing business, like I realize I like, and just in hindsight, I'm like, I always like to solve problems. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
I always, if there's a way to sort of navigate and find a better way, like I'm always about that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that's what's sort of helped me in business. You know?
well, that kind of goes into hiring the right people too, like as far as
Yeah.
like inventorying and everything, making sure everything runs smoothly. So what do you actually look for into somebody running one of your stores?
Yeah, so there's definitely characteristic traits that we look for in a lot of people, and that's if they're willing to like, if they're willing to learn and willing to like, step out of their own comfort zone. But really, there's characteristics that we look for in any individual we hire, is just like seeing if they're just a good person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Mm.
if they're, and then sometimes so we've hired folks with amazing resumes, and it's hard to see that off the bat,
Mhm.
but we've seen people with amazing resumes and they just like have terrible attitudes, and like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's just, it's hard, but I think like there is like quality of certain people where you can vibe with them and you just know that like, there's a humbleness, or there's like a eagerness for them to go above and beyond status quo. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think like if you surround yourself with people who have like a more of a mindset that, hey, I'm gonna push to the next level, then that's where you get sort of successful in that.
Yeah.
So that I think that happens from top down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
For sure.
mhm.
Do you adopt approach of like hiring slow and then firing fast, like at those kind of levels?
Um, really, it's like we haven't really had to have like a higher fire model. Really, it's just it's narrowing down what those certain qualities and
Right,
characteristics
right.
are. I can go on and on what those characteristics specifically are, but for us, we just narrow them down and be like, for that job, like we know that this personality works best with this. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
And building a culture where folks just don't get burnt out in those regards. You know what I mean? But it takes people to burn out to understand that and fully, truly, truly understand that, to be like, yo, how can we alleviate this? Whatever. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. That's the toughest part of any business, is just
Yeah.
putting the right personnel in place.
Yeah, because you never know until they either prove
Mhm.
themselves or not. You
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I just always there's never been an employee though that I've been like, all right, I'm not willing to work with you or help you out. So
That's good. That's
yeah,
good.
for sure.
Well, you create a dope atmosphere for your shop, so that's a plus too.
Yeah, appreciate
know.
that.
Yeah.
So what other business ventures do you got going, if any?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple projects I have here. A couple of projects I have, like, just on the side. Nothing crazy, but yeah, I mean, I dabble. I have like 3-4 other businesses, but they all have synergies with Soul Taco.
Mm.
So like if for one, I've invested in a kiosk company. So like the kiosks you see in Soul Taco, like yeah, that's something I recently invested in like the past year. But like because I invested in that, like they're in all the Soul Tacos, and I get to get my valid input as a customer too, to be like, yo, this is what I think should be done with this and this and this.
Right,
So
right.
um yeah, just most of the stuff I mess with is just all has synergies back to stuff that's involved with my main business, which is Soul Taco. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's nothing really interesting. It's just
It's all exciting,
stuff
man.
that's,
It's
but
all
I mean, it's
exciting.
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
to me that's exciting. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's I just feel like there's sometimes people feeling like in a rut, or they're just like, I'm gonna create this brand, or this brand, but there's no real focus with it.
Mhm.
So for me, like whatever I do, I got to make sure, especially since my time's stretched already. So like,
Mm.
I just need to make sure that the areas that I'm focused on, doesn't stray me away from the main thing that I should be focused on, if that
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense. So
Now, is there still a lot of there is still a lot of behind the scenes work stuff you got to do with Soul Taco, or is it almost to the point where it's like completely automated, just
no,
can run
I
on
mean
its own?
it can run like that's totally I mean, that's totally because of the folks that run it on the day-to-day
Mhm.
level, and I have amazing staff with that, amazing management, amazing leadership team. But like I said, that took like 10 years to build. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So um, yeah, and it just takes folks to buy in. So but I wouldn't say like I I'm not there like behind the grill every day. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like
Yeah.
there's I'm never off the clock. There's always
Yeah.
something with Soul Taco that I'm doing on a daily basis. But sometimes that's 1 hour of my day, and then sometimes it's the whole day plus
Yeah.
some, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
Yeah.
it just depends, you know what I mean? Like, but that's the sort of, you know, schedule and lifestyle that I've signed up for. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
how do you find that work-life balance? Because you got to have fun and some
Yeah, I mean
chill with your girl time.
yeah. So I think like from there it's just yeah, you find that work life balance of just enjoying what you do with work and sort of incorporating some of
Mhm.
your life into that lifestyle into that. And I think I've done that with Soul Taco, where I can incorporate my lifestyle and still operate a functional, successful business with that. So I mean, everyone, it's like cliche, but everyone's like, do something you enjoy to do and doesn't feel like work. I mean, it still feels like work to me, but you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But I absolutely love it and enjoy
You have
it. You know what I mean?
passion
Yeah.
Yeah,
for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So it's not like, it's not like I feel like I never work. It's just my mind's always going, what's the next step? What's the next thing that we have to do? So
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you were chasing the dollar, Soul Taco would probably be over with already. I'd
yeah, I mean,
imagine.
it's very easy to do that, because like I could have had a really big head and just been like, yo, let's just open up, let's just open up 10 this year. You know what I mean? Just,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just don't, in anything I do, I just want to see sustainability with it.
Yeah.
Whether that's,
Some
yeah,
long-term
absolutely.
success.
Whether that's friendships, relationships, business, you
I
know what I
like
mean?
that.
So there has to be a long term sustainability. And if that's not possible or feasible, I don't ever want to outstretch that. And then, I just am not a overly stressed out guy. So like,
Yeah.
and when I get visibly stressed out, it's just like I physically just hate that shit,
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Oh, most
yeah,
definitely. Most
yeah.
definitely.
So like, I just try to not do things that overly stress me out. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's cool to see, man. You're very in tune with like your self awareness and like who you are, and you're
yeah,
very in tune with yourself.
yeah. That's a good way to put it. I didn't even have the words for it, but yeah, I guess I've always had pretty good self awareness with stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, just learn from uh, during those stressful times where you're like, man, I just don't like this.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I think like school never
Yeah.
really appealed to me, because like I was just like, all right, man, it's stressing me out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
I think, from there, it just, yeah, that was an automatic like turn off for me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So do you have any intentions to expand like West Coast or kind of cut out for a second?
Expand to West Coast. I mean, I'm in LA a lot these days. I have some other business ventures. I have some other business ventures that I'm entertaining right now. But I as far as Soul Taco, like, man, I just yes, is the audio good?
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, as far as Soul Taco, I just think like, yeah, I just wanted to sort of focus on St. Louis, Chicago for now. I have opportunities in other cities that like I'm opening I'm open with discussion right now in the midst of that. But you know, for me, I have to like going back to the sustainability part of things. I'm like, all right, if I open one, you know, who am I going to move there? It's just a lot of different pieces. You know what I mean? Like, who's going to run that? Do I hire someone locally, or do we? You know what I mean? Like, so it just becomes a lot more than just like, all right, this is a soul, and you could just copy and paste here. It's just not the case. You know what I mean? So
I only say that for selfish reasons because, you know, like if I move out there and like, how am I supposed to get my burrito? You know?
Yeah.
You're going to have to write me a recipe or something. I'm playing.
No, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I would love to continue to grow Seoul Taco. More than anything, I feel like, personally, I would love to see like a Korean brand, whether that's me or someone else. I honestly don't care. It's just like you know, being Korean American, born Korean American, just not seeing so much Korean concepts out there that are able to scale on that level nationally. Like you just don't see any. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, you see tons of Chinese, you see Japanese.
Yeah.
But yeah, the representation of Korean, that'd be huge. You know, and I think Seoul Taco has the opportunity to do so. So why not? You know, 100%. Sort of take that. So yeah.
Awesome, man.
Well, I know you got to get going, huh? You got to be there at 6, or you got to.
Yeah,
you got here till 6.
I didn't even see it. Yeah, that means we've definitely had some good conversation. So
yeah, time flies for sure.
All right, brother. So where can they find you on social media?
David Choi Official is my personal handle, and then at Seoul Taco as well. So
yes, sir.
Yeah, I used to have the handle David Choi STL, and then I was like, I mean, I'm always STL, but you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I was just messing around. Honestly, I was just messing around. I was like, oh shoot, this handle's available. All right, I'll take it.
was there ever a name before Seoul Taco, or was it always Seoul Taco?
There was you know, I almost did Taqueria, like TA Korea, and then I was but then play on the normal Taqueria, but I was like, we're a truck, so you know.
Yeah, Seoul Taco.
So Seoul Taco. And then I was just like, Seoul Taco. We could play on Seoul, and then we also can, you know, I just think it's straightforward, straight to the point. You know, you know, I mean, especially spelled like Seoul, like the city. I just thought. It's like I'd rather have a brand that's just simple and doesn't have to be like crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So and then it's like straight to the point. You know what you're gonna get. So
yeah. Hell yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming through, man, for sure.
Yeah, appreciate y'all having me on.
Long time in the making.
It's good kicking it.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. But more than this, if I'm back in town, let's just kick it.
Yeah.
So, for sure,
man. For sure.
And if you're listening, go to Seoul Taco tomorrow and get yourself a nice burrito. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed.
Best burritos in the game.
Appreciate that. Sure. All right, thanks, fellas.
Peace.
Brother.
Yes, sir.
You are here and now with Brandon and Joe. I'm Joe.
And I'm Brandon.
Here it now.
Here it now.